He didn't fail, the school failed him. The school failed at their job.
0 people proficient. I mean, that's outrageous.
We have to find a better school for my kid.
Just indicative of the larger problem within Baltimore City Public Schools.
Why was he given permission? What makes him so special?
City schools didn't want you to see those documents.
The food and drink was more important than the testimony of your constituent? Have you ever been attacked by a student?
Numerous times.
I was outraged. The taxpayers ought to be outraged. Something needs to be done.
Do not send your child to Augusta Fells.
The public has a right to know what their government is doing.
We approached County School Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams. This is an important situation for taxpayers, sir. But he would not answer our questions. But these report cards show a before and an after look, where grades went from failing to passing.
It's a moment, a diploma, that many of these graduates, according to their own teachers, may not have earned.
Some earn the grades, some don't.
You know that you failed some of these kids in your class, and they should not be graduating.
What I did, I put the grades in, and if someone changed the grades, then that was on them. And the focus was to have the fabulous 44 to graduate.
No matter what?
No matter what.
Tonight, another stunning finding in Fox 45 News' investigation into Augusta Fells.
He didn't fail, the school failed him. The school failed at their job.
In his 4 years at Augusta Fells, he passed 3 classes, earning a grade point average of 0.13. But his transcripts show his class rank is 62 out of 120. This means nearly half of his classmates, 58 of them, have a GPA of 0.13 or lower.
That's astonishing, absolutely astonishing. This school needs to be shut down.
And despite failing classes like Algebra 1, Spanish 1, and English 2, he was promoted to Algebra 2, Spanish 2, and English 3. Did the school system fail this child?
Dr. Stanley, she's failing our children. She's failing them.
But at Augusta Fells in 2019, 83% of students were chronically absent, yet the school recorded a 48% graduation rate. As Augusta Fells was under investigation for grading irregularities, city schools brought in a new principal who was also under investigation for grading irregularities.
Tonight, the governor speaking out about our report calling for a full investigation.
But this is just completely unacceptable. I mean, it's worse than anything I've heard in the whole time that I've been governor. I'm going to ask the Inspector General to immediately look into it. They have to get to the bottom of this and find out who's responsible.
A Project Baltimore investigation has found entire schools that don't have a single student proficient in math or English.
You see, Navon goes to a high school where half the students graduate, and just a few dozen will go to college. It's also a school Project Baltimore found where last year not one student scored proficient in any state testing.
That's absurd to me. I don't understand how in an entire school not one person can be proficient.
And we found Frederick Douglass is not alone. 4 other city high schools and 1 middle school also have 0 students proficient. And keep in mind, city schools spend $16,000 per student every year, the 4th highest in the country.
0 people proficient. I mean, that's outrageous.
A Fox 45 investigation has found kids taking weapons to school is a growing problem for some area districts. Project Baltimore dug deep into Department of Education data, but we found 2 counties, Baltimore and Howard, are going in the wrong direction. Last year, Baltimore County had 311 students suspended or expelled for having a weapon. That's a 26% spike just since last year. Project Baltimore asked Baltimore County schools for the number and types of weapons confiscated since 2012, but we were told those records do not exist. We also asked for a sit-down interview to discuss the increase in weapons incidents. That request was denied. Project Baltimore broke the story. Allegations of grade changing at a Northeast Baltimore school. Following our reports, city schools launched an internal investigation and determined the allegations were unsubstantiated. Fox 45 wanted to know why, but our public records requests to see their internal investigation was denied. They gave us nothing. So in December, we sued.
The government is required to give the public these documents. The public has a right to know what their government is doing.
City schools didn't want you to see those documents, and they were willing to go to court to keep them from you. A judge isn't allowing them to get away with it.
In Judge Jeannie Hong's ruling, she said the quality of education in Baltimore City Public Schools is of the utmost importance to the public. She then said city schools willfully and knowingly violated the law in not handing over the documents. And that decision may have been to hide possible wrongdoing.
Decisions like this are critical to accountability in government. Oftentimes government will think that it's above the law. And in this case, the judge said, in fact, that the school system thought they were above the law.
Our attorney asked city schools to pay his legal fees, and the judge has given him 100% of the legal fees. This is money that North Avenue apparently doesn't have because they're always asking for more money, and they're going to have to write a six-figure check to an attorney who just beat them in court.
Julie Gaskins waited a long time for this moment and sat most all day waiting for her turn to talk to this Senate committee about how Baltimore City schools failed her son. When she took the mic, her city senators took off.
Left while she was speaking.
Yeah, I had to go to take care of something, and I came back.
You came back with food and drink.
Okay, but I came back.
The food and drink was more important than the testimony of your constituent?
Conway explained she was conducting committee business.
It consists of a number of things, and it's probably too detailed and too long to explain it to you.
See? I have time.
But I don't.
It's infuriating, just indicative of the larger problem within Baltimore City Public Schools.
Two longtime elected officials from Baltimore City won't be returning to Annapolis next year.
It's a huge moment.
She watched on primary election night as two of Baltimore City's biggest political names, with a combined 38 years in office, lost.
A whistleblower from inside Baltimore County Public Schools has come forward claiming financial documents were destroyed in direct violation of a school board order.
The school board launched a financial audit and in September passed a directive limiting document destruction.
They were in a hurry to get rid of a whole lot of something out of that room.
The whistleblower says on a weekend in the fall of 2018, two high-level administrators went through the room and destroyed documents. Combined, more than 53,000 pounds of material was destroyed.
Dr. Williams, Chris Pabst with Project Baltimore.
We approached County School Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams, who took over in July.
In August of 2008.
I have to go because I'm holding up the board.
This is an important situation for taxpayers, sir.
But he would not answer our questions.
This is extremely important to taxpayers. Do you believe that the school board's directive was violated by the superintendent?
What's the real-life consequence when a school fails a child?
Chris Pabst spoke to a man who says in the 1960s, city schools let him down, and he never recovered.
I was wondering how I was passing. It's passing me when I know I shouldn't be passing.
By 10th grade, he tells Fox 45 he just couldn't do the work. I hate to ask you this question and put you on the spot, but what does that sign say? Can you read that?
And when people know you can't read, they take advantage of you. They're hurting the kids more so than helping them.
By pushing them along?
By pushing them on through the school. It happened to me, and look what it has done to my life.
It was getting to the point where I was literally feeling dread.
Scott Miller Phoenix spent 25 years teaching in Baltimore City schools.
Have you ever been attacked by a student?
Numerous times. Many times.
Punched?
Punched, kicked, thrown bottles at me. I had symptoms that were scaring me. I didn't know if it was a heart attack.
He was diagnosed
with PTSD. He says the daily violence was too much and ended his career.
They're witnessing violence on a regular basis. They're being threatened on a regular basis. The problem with this is that if the teachers are traumatized by witnessing violence, so are the kids. So are the kids.
Parkville High School parents are demanding answers after a Project Baltimore investigation found a convicted sex offender who was 21 years old was attending the school.
How can this man, this sex offender, still be sitting in a classroom with kids all around him?
He was then given written permission by Principal Maureen Astorita to attend Parkville.
Hi, looking for Principal Astorita? We just want to ask her why she allowed a 21-year-old convicted sex offender to take classes.
Why was he given permission? What makes him so special?
Dr. Williams has declined all of our interview requests. This teen became the third underage girl to come forward with rape accusations.
I told him no. And the next thing I know is I'm being held down by my throat.
I was outraged. The taxpayers ought to be outraged. Something needs to be done.
As part of his plea, Sudano is expected to be sentenced to 18 years in prison.
Officials are taking action after a Project Baltimore investigation.
As a result of Project Baltimore's reporting, lawmakers passed a state law banning convicted sex offenders from attending Maryland schools.
They knew he was a predator, and they still let him come around the school and be around underage kids. Like, what did they think was going to happen?
The sex offender has been held to account, while the people who allowed him inside of a school have not.
Documents just obtained by Project Baltimore's Chris Papps show Augusta Fells Savage appears to have had ghost students on the roll. Students you're paying to educate who aren't really there.
Fox 45 News has this document, which contains the names of 21 seniors at Augusta Fells. Sources tell us the school compiled the list of students who, while enrolled on paper, were not physically attending class. Some hadn't for years. And city schools gets nearly $16,000 per student every year. So the question is, did North Avenue receive taxpayer dollars for 21 students who were on the rolls of Augusta Fells, but were not actually attending the school?
Do you think he left the school system in 2017?
This document shows 2 students enrolled at Augusta Fells in 2019 hadn't received a grade since the 2015-16 school year. One student spent 5 years in 9th grade.
You're confident she was not in school in the fall of 2019?
This student confirmed to Project Baltimore he could not have been going to Augusta Fells in the fall of 2019 because he was in jail.
So from August to December of 2019, you were incarcerated?
Yes.
He told Project Baltimore he dropped out in early 2017. But for 2 more years, someone enrolled him in classes like Algebra 2, College Readiness, and English 4. Augusta Fells is a school in turmoil. In summer 2019, its principal and assistant principal were placed on administrative leave as city schools launched an internal investigation into staff misconduct and grading irregularities.
Do not send your child to Augusta Fells.